Okay. Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today on the channel, we have Greg from Life After Losing. Oh my gosh, I can't get it right. And we're going to be talking about being fat and gay and the whole like body image thing and hierarchies and all that stuff, basically, and how I guess like standards, right? And that kind of thing.
Exactly. And how,
Just all of it.
yeah, all of it. Because it's not just about necessarily being thin. I think it used to be thin was in, I think, probably a couple decades ago, but it's not necessarily that anymore. I think there's a couple different standards depending on what group you fall into, I guess, in the gay community. But
Right. I think so too. It's changed a lot.
yes,
So I have to spill some tea so that, we can know where Greg's coming from. But Greg has been married for a while, for a long time, for ancient history. No, I'm just kidding.
in gay years, it's like,
Since the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
yes,
I'm just
the gay
kidding.
dinosaurs were roaming.
Yeah. Since prehistoric gay times. So, what is your impression of like, I guess, modern gay dating, I guess, compared to what it was for you? 'Cause I'm
Oh,
sure it's really different.
yeah, and I actually almost feel bad for you guys. So I'll just be honest. Um, I I don't think it's. I think the whole online thing kind of sets a lot of people up for failure. It's not. I don't think it's a good way to start a relationship off. I think that um, it almost it there's too many options. I think that the whole swiping left and swiping right thing
Mhm.
is not a good way to get to know someone. A profile picture is definitely not a good way to
Yeah,
get to know somebody, especially not today with filters and good lighting. And I mean, good lighting. I mean, I don't leave
right.
my house without good lighting, seriously. But I mean, it's definitely not a good way to judge somebody nowadays. It's so easy to manipulate
That's true.
photos and bios and things like that to make yourself sound amazing. But um and
That's very
even
true.
you know I think I was watching an episode of Schitt's Creek, and I think Moira Rose said something too, that the internet and is like a breeding ground for like clinical narcissists or whatever or something like that. And
Interesting.
I think it's probably true. And I think that especially now with social media, it's definitely
Yeah.
a breeding ground for social or
Oh,
for clinical
yeah.
narcissists.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I'm obviously I'm the millennial representative, I guess, but I was, growing up or coming of age when social media was becoming more prominent. Like I started on MySpace in middle school kind of thing. So I saw like I remember the pre times and the
Yep.
post times. And I think a lot of people, and from my view, it's not really better or worse. It's kind of like just different because, especially like being gay and all that, before social media, it's like you could feel like you're the only gay person in the whole world forever,
Mhm.
And it was just very isolating, or like you feel like a freak about any little thing because nobody else is talking about something. And if nobody talks about it, then it doesn't exist because there's no online world. But
Right.
then nowadays, it's like people talk about too much, and it's like you need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Exactly.
interested.
Nobody
So,
cares. Like
yeah, and I
you're not hot anymore. Like shut up.
yeah, well, and I think it's like it can be distracting, and then people love to get online and like self-destruct or just like blow up their life and just do crazy stuff all the time. And I think too, I agree there is an element of narcissism online, and I think people can see certain numbers or see certain things, and they just can, honestly, like on a dating app, for example, you could get like tons of likes or something, and you could feel like you're like so amazing, even if you're not,
Mhm.
and that can be like an inflated ego. Whereas like in real life, maybe people wouldn't really even notice you or not even care.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
like you said, especially if you're manipulating the pictures and stuff,
Right.
which that
Exactly.
happens. And I think too, with gay men, there is just such a in a lot of us, there is such a need to be seen and a need to be validated and a need to like basically be image obsessed anyways. Like I'm sure it was still like that. Was it like that before social media for gay people that you remember back in the
Yes.
day?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And it was more like about um going when you went out looking perfect. Like you had to
Mhm.
have the right clothes, and it was about visually looking as good as you possibly could.
Mhm.
So I think that a lot of the image standards probably started then. Um,
Mhm.
and Of course, it just kind of went online, and it's even worse now because now we have digital manipulation instead of, you know, clothing and cologne and, things like that. But
Right. Right. I think it's so obviously we have to talk about how they would always they fat activists, I guess, and there are some fat activist gays, which I'm surprised because to be honest, to me, I'm like, I feel like I can clock every single one of them. They only will talk to somebody who's in shape or something. You know what I mean? It's like, damn well they're not about it because they don't really care. I
yep.
think they're probably, this is my like very, very, what is it, cynical view of a lot of these fat activist gays. I think they literally do it just because it's the only way they can get views. And
Yeah,
that's
I
it.
agree. I
I
agree.
don't think they mean it at all. Or they don't actually care.
Yeah, I thought about that too. And it's almost kind of like back in the day when see you guys don't go out to clubs and bars anymore like we used to. Like that was our social media. Like we
Mhm.
went to bars like every weekend. Or every not even every weekend, pretty much 4 nights a week. We were going
Oh,
out.
wow, yeah. Well, a
And
lot of people did still in
we
my generation, but
yeah,
not me because 'cause I'm introverted, so I didn't do it. But a lot of people that were my
well,
friends did.
and you don't have a group of friends that you go out with. So I think if you had a group of friends, you probably would, because you still be introverted with your group of friends when you're going out. You could just hang out with
Yeah, I used to. I did. Like, when I lived in California, because I was born and raised there, I would go, but I wouldn't go very often because I didn't have fun. Not fun for me. It was boring a lot, which no shade to anybody, but it's like, I like to sit and have, like, a deep conversation or something. That's, like, stimulating to me.
Me
And being at a
too.
bar where it's just, like, loud
Loud as
music and
fuck and sure.
just shallow stuff and
Yep.
whatever, it's just not it for me.
Me
So,
too.
yeah.
Even now, like if I go out, like, well, I'm older now. So if I go out, like I'll always like I'll talk to like the young people, and I'm always like not lecturing them, but I'm just like giving like deep advice and like being like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
they'll end up like leaving that night with like not going home with anyone.
Oh my
Like,
gosh,
just like
that's so
ruin
funny.
their whole like their game's all messed up. They just like talk to the old dude all night. Like,
Oh my gosh. Well, for me, I just got into drama at those scenes and
you're giving
I
side eye
would
to people like,
I would be like talking shit to people or talking shit about people while I was there, like, because I didn't do it very often. It's because I didn't have good experiences, which I don't know if it had to do with being fat or just honestly gay people are awful. Like, I'm sorry, I know that's horrible to say, but I literally like I mean, I was duffed again, I've told that story with
oh
Eric,
yeah,
like, I was such a duff, and this one guy, I went to a bar, and he was such a fucking, like, douchebag with me, and he was, like, lying about me and trying to put me down to Eric as if that was, like, gonna get Eric to like him, which he wasn't it. He was not attractive at all. He was I mean, if we wanna talk body standard hierarchy, I can do it right now. He didn't hit it, okay?
yeah,
But I think because he thought because he had a deeper voice and he was thin, I guess he thought he was in, but he had basketball face, he was very short, he was, like, 19, and Eric only likes older guys, so that was dead on arrival, and he worked at Skechers. It just wasn't it. Like, I'm not
no,
trying to say Eric is, like, the most bougie I love how I'm, like, talking shit about Eric. I can't help but talk shit when I talk about gayness. But I'm not saying Eric is, like, total gold digger, but it just wasn't cutting it on any standard. And the
Right.
guy was a douche on top of it. And he literally was like getting in a fight with an ex at the bar. I mean, it was stupid. It was so pedestrian. And basically, he was talking shit about me and stuff. And then he'd try to hang out. And it's like, damn well, Eric told me what you said about me. So I
Yeah.
called him out, and I'd be like, what the hell, or you're bold for coming up to us at this bar right now. Like, you can fuck off, basically. Or like, I didn't make it comfortable for him. So it's like, that's the kind of stuff I was doing. And then, yeah, because I didn't like Eric's friends a lot. So because he had other friends come with us and they were just so messy. It was bad.
Were they like
But
douchebags or were they just messy?
they were just like messy whores. I don't know how else to say it. Like, the douchebag guy from Skechers, the one guy that we went out with, he was trying to sleep with him. He was like desperate for him. And it's like, I don't know what's worse. Like, I don't know. What is the gay equivalent of simping? It's like, I can't think of anybody more mediocre than that guy to be like really desperate,
Like a pedestrian and mediocre mix.
So, and it was so bad. It was pretty bad. I really do need to probably do a story time with Eric about that night because I always think of it. But that's partly why I wasn't like big on the gay scene or whatever, because it was always a huge issue. And yeah, I'm not like, I don't know. People just see me and they're like, but that's why I didn't talk to that guy that looked like Jim Carrey, who was cute. He was actually really cute, but I didn't talk to him because I was busy fighting with someone else at the bar. I was busy in drama. So that's, me. So it's like, I am introverted, but I'm extroverted enough to fight somebody, at least verbally. But it was still funny. But yeah, there was an older guy at the bar that was like talking to us too. But he wasn't trying to give good advice or anything. I think he was just trying to get with somebody. But
He was just very old dude.
yeah. And he was just drunk, kind of thing. Just like a hot mess. But I mean, it was funny. I mean, I'm glad I did it. But it's like, I did do it and I tried to club, but I just didn't like it. I mean, I'm sure it's not a shock. It's not like I don't judge anybody that likes to club or anything. It just wasn't really my thing. But yeah, I mean, I didn't care really how I dressed or anything. I'm sure you're shocked, but I didn't really care about anything.
I actually am surprised by that because there's not many gay men that I know that don't care. Like,
I didn't care.
I'm trying to think. I guess I always did care to a point, but there was never anything good to wear when you're big. Like, so it's kind of like,
That's true.
Like there was not. I mean, there was always like I was just like nice. I was always clean and I was nice, but there wasn't anything like stylish. Like to wear. And now I guess I dress kind of stylish in a way, but I still dress cheap. I'm not like buying clothes though. Like you told me, I still buy Jorge. Like I buy my whole work wardrobe is Jorge. And
we stand.
And Amazon. Jorge and Amazon is like my wardrobe.
So still pretty pragmatic. Yeah, I would say I definitely agree with the clothes thing. I mean, I think that's partly why I probably never cared, because there just weren't good options, or it's like if there are good options, they cost like 4 or 5 times as much as other clothes.
I'm not paying anything crazy.
Yeah. And then it was just like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, most of the time when I was going out like that, I was, mid-fat, which is kind of where I am now, but I'm really almost towards small. So it's like, I call it the invisibility place. It's like you're big, you're big enough to be invisible, but you're not so big that you're becoming like the freak show or like the what is it called? Spectacle. You know, whether people are like fetishizing or people are like, oh my God, they're not looking at you when you're in the mid-fat
I was probably
zone.
about the same too. Like I was probably like 325 weight wise. Because how tall are you? You're like the same height as I am. You're like 6 foot or something?
I'm 6'1".
6'1". Okay, so I'm 6 foot, and
Yeah.
so I was like probably 325 at that
Yeah.
time,
That's mid fat for
and
sure.
yeah, so 6 foot, 325, and definitely like in the mid probably area,
Hmm.
and definitely that wasn't my highest weight, but that
Yeah.
was
When you were out.
like going
Hmm.
out weight, you know.
Yeah. How was it like as far as dating and stuff when before you found your husband?
Um, yeah, you know what? It wasn't. I was kind of taken in by the bear community like really
Okay.
quickly. Like, and I didn't even know what it was when I first, came out. Like, all my friends were lesbians. Like, so my best
Right.
friend that I grew up with since I was like 2 years old was a lesbian. So, and of course we didn't know that until we got older. And so she took me out to my first gay bar. And so I hung out with her and her girlfriend, and then she introduced me to her friends who were all lesbians, and it's just my whole circle was like lesbians for like the longest time. And most of my friends now are still like
Oh, that's funny.
gay friends are all lesbians. And so once I started going out more, obviously you're the bigger guy with facial hair. You kind of the ones who
Hmm.
are coming up to you are the bears. And so they kind of like taken me into their group. And from there I started meeting people.
Okay.
And it was funny because it like when I would get asked out, it wasn't all just bears like that would ask me out. Like I would get asked out by all different types of guys. And
Hmm.
a lot of people would avoid me because they thought I was straight. And
Okay.
so they thought I was
Interesting.
just hanging out with my lesbian friend, or they thought I was there with my wife because me and my friend were very close and we would just, hang
Hmm.
out like we were together. And yeah, so they thought we were together. And so eventually they would like talk to my friends would kind of, say, no, he's gay, like those kind of things. And so yeah, I would just meet people that way. And so yeah, when I did date, I dated like it was a job. Like I did
Okay.
not date for fun because I always since I was a kid, I knew what I wanted. Like I did not want casual relationships.
Hmm.
I did not want casual sex. Like I was never like driven by that. So that was a huge turnoff to a lot of gay
Yeah,
men,
of course.
So when they would come up to me and after a while, even like after a date or a couple dates, and they would realize they weren't getting anywhere because they're not going to get
Hmm.
anywhere with me on a first date. Um, it would kind of end very quickly. Um, but I did date almost like a job, and
Hmm.
so it was interesting. But there were some okay ones, but the majority of guys are, I mean, are shit. To be honest, they are.
Okay. So it sounds like it's kind of similar. It's just obviously you're in person rather than just online.
Yeah,
Because for me, it's been a lot of like, I don't, I'm not a casual person at all. I don't even think I'm casual in any way. And I'm just kidding. I'm not, I'm like pretty serious in general.
yeah,
So for me, I don't, I can be mentally a whore, but I'm not physically one. Like I don't want to sleep with everybody because I'm like, I don't know. I'm just introverted and it grosses me out, honestly. Like, honestly, it kind of does.
yeah,
And I'm just not, I think for me, there's so much within a person that I have to like actually want to go there or whatever. Because for me, it's like you can look amazing, but you can be like a dumbass. And then I'm like turned off. Or you
yeah,
can be super smart, but you're just not it as far as physically of what I want. And again, like I don't go based on like societal standard or whatever. I don't really care. But for me, it's like I will never be like, looks don't matter. I don't agree with that. I think they do, you know? But I think
True.
a lot of
Yeah.
other things matter too, you know? And so
Yep.
I think it's just I've, you know, after I had like a horrific situation with my first love, it went really badly. Then for like 2 years, I searched for somebody like endlessly, like it was like a job. And it was just like I was treated so awful. Like honestly, it was really bad. And I was kind of desperate a little bit at the time, which that can not come across well, especially online or like on apps and stuff. But I was like ghosted all the time. I was constantly like, um, I had somebody tried to like extort money from me, like somebody tried to like scam me. I had this one guy, we talked on the phone, and he said that I was a loser and that, I was delusional about everything in my life. I mean, like really nasty
Mhm.
situations. Um, Lots of like you said, a lot of lying, that kind of stuff. So it's been awful pretty much from the beginning. I don't think that it's gonna improve all that much with weight loss. I really don't, because I think it's just an issue, which again, I lived in California, like I said, but most other times where I've tried in like other states, it's just a lot of like people just wanna hook up. Here in Alabama, a lot of what I've gotten are people who are married. I've had so many people who are married want something with me, and I'm like, "No." I mean, honestly, like, I had this one guy
Like straight married or gay married?
both.
Okay.
Crazy. Yeah, I've had a lot of bisexual guys that have a girlfriend. They've been wanting to just sleep with me, and it's like, these are not sustainable or, like, real situations that I'm
Yeah.
first of all, that I'm gonna get involved in, because you don't know what the hell can happen when you do all that crap.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's just a lot of that. A lot of it, like, kind of insanely a lot. I don't know what it is about me. I guess I look like a whore. I look like the other woman or something, Everybody wants to make me that, and I'm like, Taylor has a song called August, and August is, like, about the other girl, basically. And her name's Augustine, so I guess everybody thinks I'm Augustine, which I am the folklore witch today. But it's irritating because I'm like, I'm not Augustine. I'm not interested in extramarital affairs. I'm not interested, at all. And I will literally say
No.
that. But that's what I get a lot of, is that, and then like open relationships. And, I think I've actually I met up with one guy who was married. Nothing went down, but I was just kind of curious. I wanted to like hear it out basically. And which I know is kind of toxic of me. But this one guy, he literally like he got in my car and he like stripped down and got naked and everything and tried to like do it with me in public. And I was like, no. It's like, what the hell? So these are the kind of things. And then the other guy I met that was married, he told me that he wanted to have a friend where it was kind of toxic, and we just like do kind of sexual things together sometimes, blah 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 blah. He's like, but I won't ever kiss you. And I was like, what the hell? And that situation was weird, because I was like kind of attracted to him, and I was like, I need to not see him again, because I would kind of be tempted with him. But it was just like he was like a teacher, a
Oh my.
married teacher, a teacher married to another man, and his partner was like gone for like 2 weeks or something. And he invited me over, and I'm just like, this is the shit that
That's
I'm
so fucked
getting in
up.
Alabama. So this is what I
Wow.
get. And then other than that, it's like long distance. So the other time I got close to a relationship, he lived in like a different city in Alabama. So like pretty far away. And it sounded sketch. I was like, I don't think this guy is being honest with me. Like, and you can kind of tell. I'm like,
Mhm.
he's not gonna have a real relationship with me. He's just gonna be sleeping around. Like, when that I don't know if you have that intuition, but like I could just tell. I was like, this person's lying,
Oh
and they want like a relationship but not an actual relationship. You know what I'm saying? So there's
yeah.
a lot of that. So I don't know
Like
if that's just
like I said, I haven't had the pleasure of finding a relationship online, But
Right.
I can always, just from talking to my friends who have had online relationships, I've always said that if the person doesn't want to, sorry, this wig is just getting all up in my face. But if the person doesn't want to meet up fairly quickly, then it's sketch. You know, like
Right.
they're looking for strictly an online relationship. They got something something else going on the side. You know, they have, it's not real. You know, they don't ever want it to be real. You know, if someone's excited to meet you and they're like, oh, let's set up plans to meet next weekend or whatever,
Right.
that's something that has potential. But if they're just going to string you along for months and months and months,
Right.
and that's
When I
never.
just with that guy, um, that was in a different city in Alabama, it was kind of like I couldn't see it really being a thing. Like I kind of wish I would have met him just to really like see it, because I think he probably like we probably would have met. But it was like I've had issues with my car, as you've known, and I've had a lot of these issues for like multiple years. So it was like it's like a cool like 100 miles away. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like a close drive to where I
Your
was
car is
trying to
fixed now,
go.
though.
It is fixed now, but I'm just saying like that's what I was dealing with back
Right,
then, and I was really struggling financially at the time too. So it's like it's just not very likely, and like I said, I just didn't trust it in that sense.
right.
And then obviously I have had long distance like abroad as well, which that definitely did not pan out really either time for different reasons. But yeah, it's very difficult. But I think a lot of people, like I've had people like, oh my gosh, I've had people do all this pop psychology on me where they're like, you just want long distance because you want separation. It's like, no, it's because I live in rural Alabama. Like, good fucking luck. You know, it's like,
Oh, is it the one from a couple days ago? What's his name? Sexual alter. Is that he's the
oh
comment?
my gosh, don't say pedestrian alter's name. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, yeah, but it's not the first time I've heard that. I've heard it a few times. You know what I mean? But it's like, no, like I tried when I got dumped last year. I mean, we're getting into the tea. Let's just when I got dumped, I tried very hard. And I mean like daily effort, looking, messaging, trying. And all I could get was like 5 million married people. Like I said, I don't know what that is, but that's all I could get is married people. And then I think the closest person I found that I was interested in meeting was like in Kentucky. And it's like, that's far, you know? So it's like, it's just fugly. I don't know. Like, it's just really hard. So I don't know. I would say like, I feel like it's kind of always hard. But I think it's definitely tough to be fat too. And then like also in like I said, like a rural area,
Yeah,
I
what
don't
big
even have a
city are you?
sidewalk. What were you gonna say?
What big city are you near?
I don't want to say.
Oh, okay. Um, I'm just trying to think. Like, is there like any bars you could go out to, or
I mean, I probably could, but it's probably gonna be super pedestrian and like not
no?
it
It's
and very
absolutely
boring.
going to be. It's freaking hell.
Yes. I mean,
But
and it's like, ugh, like, I don't know. So, like I said, I have tried now, like after my ex, I was like, I'm done with millennials. Like, I think that situation it burned it entirely. And I was like, I'm never gonna try with a millennial ever again. Like, because I dealt with like elder millennial all the way down pretty much the line, and it was just horrible, horrible, horrible. Like, I literally have I gosh, the amount of scars I have trying to date that cohort. And Gen Z was always too young. And I was not like, I was never really one of those who was like, I'm into older. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, I was just like, my first love was older. He was like 8 years older than me, but I was like 21. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like different. But it's like, I don't know, like I get older, but the guys I like stay the same age. No, I'm just kidding. But just
I was like
kidding.
older. I always liked older.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh yeah,
Well,
for
that's how
sure.
Eric is. He's super into that. And he would throw some shade, but he would date like way older. Okay.
Yeah.
Like very, very older. And I was
Like
like,
right now,
whoa.
I'm I would never I would do no more than 10, but I would never date anybody younger. No.
Yeah, that makes
But I would
sense.
never do anything any more than 10 years older than me. But just because there's nothing in common after that. Like, would I have anything in common with a 60-year-old? Like, but I would have something in common with a 55-year-old, you know? But
Right. Right. That makes sense. I think for me at this point, I mean, like I said, I feel like I've kind of the bridge has been burned with millennial gay bullshit. It's just too much. Because I'm telling you, and I know I'm a millennial, but my generation is so messed up. Like when it comes to relationships, it's insane. Honestly, like I think honestly, gay, straight, whatever, it's just horrible. Like it's
yeah.
just millennials are insane. But in terms of like I said, I kind of tried and went down the line. I had like two very significant, I fell in love twice. So I had two people that I was in love with, and then just so much trash and pain and horror, in between the two of them, that by the end of it, I was like, okay, like I'm never going to do this again, basically. And so I have opened up a lot more to dating Gen Z because Gen Z has gotten older too. Like, I wasn't going to date somebody who was like 18 when I was like
Yeah.
25. Like, that's kind of cringe to me. But now it's like, okay, that person might be 24. It's like a little bit different. So it's like, okay. So I have been more open to that, and it has been a bit more reciprocal. So I don't know if that's maybe I just had to wait for my time. That could be what
How
it
old are you now?
is. I'm 31.
31. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, I think maybe it's just my time is ahead of me rather than behind me
Well,
because
and
it
you're
was
in an
awful.
age too now that even if you started dating people who were your age, like they're starting to mature now. I mean, like you know, I was 25 and I was ready for a relationship at 25.
Right.
But my husband was 31. So he was ready for a
Okay.
relationship at 31. So he was ready, he probably wasn't ready for a relationship at 25, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that's why I went for older because that was part of my rules. I was like, I'm 25, but I'm not dating a 25-year-old because I have
Okay.
a specific plan, and I'm not going to be dating people for the next 10 years. So I need to find
Right.
somebody who's older. So that was one of my rules
Okay.
of dating. So I think that you're in a good age now that guys are starting to have their shit together. So you might be okay.
I would say with most generations, yes, but not this one because they get more
Yeah.
delusional and more insane the older they get, not less. Because I already
Yeah.
dated somebody who was older, or I tried to, anyways. Again, that was more of a situationship. It was kind of toxic, but I tried with him. But he was, 8 years older than me, and he was nuts. By the time we stopped talking, he was like 31. He was my same age, which is kind of scarring. And he was so stupid. Like now that I'm 31, I see how dumb he actually was at 31. But he was just so like obsessed with he would like pretend to have more money, and he was like really like hyper politicized and just like all this stuff, and it was just awful. And I was like, dude, and then he was so like, I don't know, it's just funny to me because he he couldn't like get a grip on his sexuality either at like 31. And it's like, dude,
Mm,
like I'm pretty sure he was just bi basically, but he couldn't handle it.
right.
And it's like he was looking at me when I was like barely coming to terms with my sexuality at 23. And he wanted me to like do that for him or like help him through that. And it's like, I get it. I'm like emotional and I can be nurturing and whatnot. And I understand that. But it's like, I was 23. Like, you
Right.
can't expect that from me
Yeah.
at 31. It's like, dude, I thought you're supposed to help me, not the other
Right.
way.
Right.
And then the recent guy, oh my gosh, I don't even know with that. Like, I don't want to say too much, obviously, because I don't want to just talk shit about somebody, but it's like there are just a lot of issues. And I get it. Like, I'm a millennial. I've had a lot of issues too. Like, but it's like, I don't agree that all millennials are growing up. Like, I think they get worse. Like, he just kind of got worse. The older he got, and I would get better, and he got worse. And it's like he was just becoming more and more delusional. And it's like, I can't help you. Like you reach a point where it's like I was starting to become less delusional, basically, as I'm growing up, right? Which is normal. You grow up, you see what's true, what isn't.
What was your family structure like when you were growing up? Like, did you
Okay,
have both parents? And
no. So for me, I didn't have my dad. I had my mom and then I had my grandma. And there were some issues, but it wasn't like horrible. But my dad was like super druggy and like alcoholic. So he was not sober at
okay,
all. So we tried to live with him when I was like 9 years old, and it was very bad. It was an abusive situation. So it was obviously very traumatic, which I do attribute that to my BED. That's what caused it, which I hate it when fat activists are like, oh my gosh, a magazine cover, it made you have an ED. It's like, no, no,
no,
nobody gives a shit about a magazine cover. It's like you
no,
had something happen to you. It
yep,
has to be real and sustained and actually a thing. And
yes,
for it to be severe from a young age as
yep.
well, I will say that. But it's like, yeah, like, so I think that's what led to that, which obviously I had the ED. That was massively crazy. And I had the hypothyroidism on top of it, which also makes you crazy. So, like, when I think of how I was at 25, am I shocked I didn't get married at 25? No. Like, I was nuts, honestly. And maybe when you're nuts, you also attract somebody else who's nuts. But it's like I got off the crazy train and he just went all the way to cuckoo town, basically. He just took a dive off the deep end. I didn't. I got off of the crazy train and I went elsewhere. And that's why we're not together anymore.
Mhm.
So it's like that whole thing is like, yeah. And then here I am. And I'm like, I'm sane. I'm 31 and I'm deathly single. And I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there's been a lot of time, um, which I'll be honest, in the last year of my relationship, I did talk to other people, but he was also talking to other people. Toxic, I know, horrible millennial stereotype.
Yeah,
But
I
it
mean,
is what it is. I
yeah,
think we were
exactly.
both huh?
It is what it is. I mean, the
Yeah.
relationship wasn't really there, so
No, it was dying. It was pretty much it should have ended probably in 2020. But by 2022, it was like a zombie. It was a zombified
yeah.
relationship at that point. It was basically over. But I was kind of delusional that year. And I was like, it's fine. Like, we're gonna get married. I was really delusional. And so it's like, we're gonna get married, but I'm seeing else what's out there and all this stuff. Like I wasn't living in reality still. So basically, I have talked to other people, and I've seen how things are, and it's still weird. But I would say that, yeah, since I got dumped, it just got even worse. I don't know why, but it did.
Do you
Um,
think that not having your dad around kind of and not having that model of a relationship
oh
kind
yeah,
of set you up
definitely was a
on
problem.
that path of not knowing how to find the right partner, or not knowing the signs of when to leave, or this is not the right thing.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot. So I would say pre 25, absolutely. So pre 25, it was just straight up. But post 25, like I said, there was a lot of like mental illness that I had where my ED was really, really escalating. And I had hypothyroidism very severely, and it was making me crazy too. So I would say I could blame the situation with my dad up until about 25, but I had kind of gotten over it at that point, and I had done a lot of work on it, but I had like mental health issues and physical health problems that made it worse. And so I never really got better because then I was just crazy in general, you know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like I had physical damage from the ED basically, and it makes you crazy. So, and how that would manifest is I just have a lot of anxiety when it came to relationships. I could be like a lot of push pull, just like kind of toxic millennial behavior, but honestly, they were doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a weird situation where it's like, I think my ex, he didn't have his dad either, so it's just all weird. So that's kind of how, I don't know, just don't be like me. No, I'm just kidding. This is turning into like a warning.
It's funny, that was actually another rule of mine as well, is that,
Okay.
like, I came from a family where I had both my parents, and that was, I wanted somebody that came from somebody that had both their parents too. Like,
Mhm.
and because I always said that I wanted somebody who knew that when there were problems in a relationship, you wouldn't run away from them. That
Mhm.
they have to see that there's conflict, and that you have to
Mhm.
kind of work through that, and kind of,
Mhm.
you go through stages where you dislike each other, and sometimes that dislike can last a long time. So,
Oh, wow.
and you
Yeah.
have to kind of learn to work through it, and then once you do get work through it, you're fine afterwards.
Mhm.
And I think that, you know watching that as a kid, when you have healthy parents. I mean, my parents never had, like, it isn't like
Mhm.
they were, like, abusive or
Right.
alcoholics or anything like that. That's a different story. But they argued about dumb shit, and
Right.
were probably broke because they had us when we were young, or when they were young, and things like that. But you know, we saw them deal with things and work it out. So I think that
Mhm.
that was kind of something that was important to me. I wanted somebody who knew how to deal with that kind of shit. So
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally, and I agree, and I think I forgot we need to talk about the fatness aspect, but, I mean, I guess to be honest, the ED is relevant. It is relevant to the fatness thing because I hate it when they act like obesity has no effect on your mental health,
yeah,
which I will say this, a shade on my ex, but he gained weight throughout the course of our relationship, and he got worse as he gained weight. Like, his mental health issues got worse. So it's like, I do think that that mental health aspect of obesity is never actually talked about. And they'll always say, like, oh, well, my mental health was so much worse when I was dieting. And it's like, your mental health is probably trash all the time.
yeah,
And that does affect dating, and it affects all these different aspects,
yes,
but I think for me personally, and I understand as far as like the gay thing of like, oh, you're shamed for being gay or whatever. Like, I went to an evangelical Christian school from a very young age. So I heard it all. But I think for me, it's just, I'm not a people pleasing person. So I don't really care what people
yeah,
say. Like, what really held me back was more so the ED. Honestly, say that was probably the biggest reason that I had relationship issues, because it's it's just that running commentary of like, I hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself for whatever reason. And a lot of it was my body. Sometimes it would be that I was gay. Sometimes it would be that I was, just certain aspects of my personality. But I think when you have BED as well, it's really hard to have boundaries, which that
yeah,
is a huge issue in relationships too. Because like you said, like, is it easy to, or do you know how to set a boundary in a relationship? And I
mhm,
didn't. Up until 25, I could barely even process having a boundary. And then now I can, because
right,
I'm not in the ED. So I can see like what's the issue for me. It
mhm,
was that. But
yeah,
yes, that came from childhood trauma. So it's like, I think a lot of times with obesity, people don't always have the ED aspect, but when they do, it's absolutely relevant to dating. And so as far as the gayness thing, it's like it made it even worse. So if there were any other issues like guys who are closeted or this or that, then it made it even worse to be in that situation. Because like I said, I think that was the biggest thing, was just like, which maybe this had to do with being fat too, but there would be a lot of times where guys would not want to admit that they had feelings for me. And so I think maybe being fat, it was like a two punch. It's like,
yeah,
not only is it a gay thing, but it's a fat thing too. So it can
mhm,
make it really difficult because it's like, oh gosh. So I think that could be relevant too, as far as the body image or body standard, because I think in the gay world, it's not just about like, and I think this is toxic gay behavior and certainly millennial gay behavior, but it's not just about if you're attracted to the person, it's about if you can brag about being with them.
Oh, that was my situation as well. Like I
Okay,
actually
interesting.
um um actually had um someone that I was dating um casually, nothing too serious, mm, but I had one of his friends come up to me and they were like, he really likes you, but he thinks that you're too big for him and it can't go any farther than what it is because you're just too heavy for him, like kind of a thing. But I'm just like, okay, then I just can't go any further. Like, what do you want me to do? Like,
Right.
it isn't like he's some prize that I'm just gonna like, look, what do you want me to do? Like lose 100 pounds like tomorrow? Like, just,
Right.
but that's and that was that's common. That they want
Mhm.
to have arm candy pretty much.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, which I could see that. I could see that aspect as well. I know for me, there were always guys that didn't care about that. But then, like I said, it's like, it's kind of just like another thing in the gay world where it's like, it's another problem to add to a series of problems you're likely already going to have. And then you just
right.
throw in another one. And so it's like, I would run into guys that I found attractive who didn't care, like weren't really big on body type, or like they just didn't have an opinion on it. They just didn't care. And then I'd have all these other issues with them instead. It's like it would just be something else. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it's like I think regardless, like being fat in the gay dating world, I don't think it's like necessarily make or break, but it usually is not going to help you. It's
No, not
probably
gonna
going to make it worse.
because if you don't have that, then you need your fats. Then you don't. If you're broke, if you don't have
Right.
social status, if you're like bad at social climbing, there's all kinds of things that can break you in that dating circle and the community itself. But
Right. Right. And I try to just pick the things that I care about and what I don't, which I think is a better strategy. Like there are certain things that I care about that are more shallow on, which for me, like I'm sorry, I care about height. I do. I do. I'm gonna be honest. But other things I don't really care. Like I don't care if somebody has abs or I don't care if somebody has money, like those kind of things I don't really care about. So it's like you have to kind of like pick and choose. But a lot of gay men, it's like you have to have everything. And it's like,
yeah.
and then they're not really anything. And
Hmm.
it's like, well, who's gonna really give a shit to try that hard for you? You know what I mean? That's kind of harsh,
Right.
but I'm just being real. Like, it's like, I don't know,
And
because
that's my whole thing too. Is
yeah.
um, I have I always had um, I was never confident in how I looked, but I was always
Mhm.
confident in who I was and what I
Okay.
brought to the table. Um, I always worked. I always had a nice place to live.
Mhm.
I knew I came from a good background. I knew I wasn't a freaking hoe bag. I was never on drugs. I never was an
Right.
alcoholic. I never had any mental health issues.
Mhm.
I always had good friends. Like always I always felt that I was a good catch, other than the fact that I was fat. Like
Mhm.
I always felt that. And so I never was down on myself for any of that kind of stuff. Um, but it's just like you just never feel like it was enough. It was still never enough. But
Mhm.
nothing
Yeah,
really
I
to
could
do.
see that. I think for me, I think when it comes to the whole like gay whatever of being fat, it's like these days it's really weird because being fat has become a political statement.
Mhm.
So which is so weird. And I'm just like, this is so dumb. But basically, so I feel like a lot of gay men today, they will almost even pretend to be interested in fat men for like a political point, which is crazy. And it just shows that a lot of gay men are just very fake. You know, they're
Yeah.
incredibly performative and they'll be attracted to whatever is popular. And
Yeah.
to me, it's like, that was not the point of coming out or whatever. It's like the whole point is you can be with who you're actually into, you know? It's just
Right.
stupid. But a lot of gay men, they forget that. It's
Right.
like they just come out and then they're like, oh, but I'm worried about this standard or that standard or that standard. And it's like, I never cared. You know, I never cared
No.
about that because to me, I was like, whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm just not really a societal, like, I don't judge things based on what society likes, basically. But for
No.
me, it was just
Because
like,
society isn't gonna be the one in your relationship,
right,
years down the line, and none of that matters really when it comes down to
right,
it.
right. And so I don't know. Like I said, I think with Gen Z, more of the issues that I have with them is that they're like incredibly entitled. So they're very like, I'm not really looking for a relationship right now, da da da. But then I'm gonna treat you like I'm your boyfriend. And it's like, wait, huh? You know, like, where are you? When are you coming over? I don't need you to be asking me that. We're not together. You said you didn't want a relationship, right? So it's like they try to like jump through things a lot and then they're very, very like sexually entitled too, which to me, I'm just like, no, I'm not necessarily going to sleep with you just because you want me to, you know? And they're very like, well, you should, or like, why or whatever. And it's like, because no, you know, like I don't know you. Like you're just a random person right now, you know? So I
Yeah.
think that that's an issue with Gen Z that I've seen, but I don't know if there's as much like ironically, which is really weird. I think it's probably only in the gay scene, but within the Gen Z gay world, I don't know if they actually are as fat phobic as like my generation or yours, you know, in terms of like dating and whatnot. I think Gen Z in general is fat phobic as hell, you know, the actual just generation. But as far
Yeah.
as the gay side, it doesn't seem like it. But they're very like
I think they
they're
are. I think it's like what you said. I think they're more performative than anything.
okay. That could be true too.
I think
That
it's
could be
all
true.
bullshit. I think it's all bullshit.
Very true. I'm not putting
It's
that
all for
past
social
it.
media and for posts and look how um hashtag body positivity
Right.
bullshit. No, no,
That could
they
be
know
true.
they like hot bodies too, just like anybody else does.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think so that's kind of what I've seen with them. Like I said, I haven't gotten tons and tons of experience, but I feel like a lot of compared to my generation, Gen Z gays are like they have very low expectations for a lot of things. Like low expectations in some ways and then high expectations in others. So like I said, it's like I don't want a relationship, but I want you to act like you're completely committed to me. And it's just like, what? Or that kind of thing. Whereas like with millennials, it was like they don't want a commitment no matter what. It's like it doesn't matter. It's like I don't want a commitment. Don't you dare even act like you want one. You know, like whoever doesn't want a commitment is the cooler one. That was millennials, which is stupid and pedestrian as hell. But in terms of like Gen Z, it's like I don't think, you know, maybe they're still too young or whatever. Like, but you know, I'm talking to guys who are like probably 24, 25 and older, right? So I'm not talking to like necessarily guys who are like 20 or something. But it's like they're more like they don't know what they want, kinda. That's
Yeah.
what I feel like. Whereas, like,
What 20
millennials
at 25 they don't know what they want. I don't think
I
there's
know.
most 25-year-olds don't know what they want.
I
Like,
think millennials thought they did, though. Like, we thought we knew when we
yeah,
were 25, you know? And, like, I feel like in my generation, when I was 25 and, like, all my friends and a lot of gay men around that age, they were like they had a piece of paper and they wanted somebody to, like, check off everything on the box.
right.
Does that make sense? So they knew what they wanted. Gen Z, it's like there is no paper. They have no idea. Like they've never even considered it. So
Well, they're
that's
too lazy
weird.
to write down the
Right. Or they can't keep
requirement.
it straight. But I think it's like to me that type of stuff is interesting. Like, and then some other differences are that, in my opinion, Gen Z is like they're Okay, this is so weird. So what I've noticed, and you have to remember, like, I'm very femmified, right? So I
Mhm.
probably have some different experiences than what you had. So with millennial gay men, most of the time, because I was like the more feminine one, they were like very, very, very like feministy, and they were like, you're going to be the career woman, basically. Like, you're going to be the one and you're the star and you got to do everything and you got to be the leader and you got to do this. And I'm just like, and I'm like exhausted. And then they had like this secret competitive resentment against me, which is super sweet and very like nice. We love millennial men, right? And so that was like an experience I
Mm.
had a lot. So there's like a lot of this hidden competition. So it's like with the millennial guy, they're like, oh, I don't care if you gain weight. Go ahead. Like, it doesn't matter to me because it puts them in like a better status
Yeah, of
that
course.
they're thinner than you. And then like with Gen Z, it's like they're totally different. They're actually a lot more patriarchal, which is really weird. So they want to tell me what to do. They're like, have you thought about losing weight faster? It's like the complete opposite. They're like, I need you to look as good as possible for me, right? Like it's the total opposite. So it's like a really weird thing. And then like with millennials, like I said, they were so horrifically commitment averse. And then Gen Z, it's like this weird, like, I don't want a commitment, but I'm going to act like I want one really bad. And so it's like, like I feel like I'm in between where I'm like, I don't want to just jump into a relationship, but I also don't want to never get married. So I'm like, what the hell? So I feel like a fish out of water a lot because I'm also kind of like, I wouldn't say I'm like completely egalitarian in a relationship. Like I'm probably a little bit more on the submissive side, but I'm not like straight up. I mean, you know me. You could tell based on my channel. I'm not like, I'm gonna do whatever you say. I'm not really
No,
like that.
no, and you shouldn't have to be.
No.
No.
But I'm just saying, so it's weird. It's definitely weird. Like those differences have been interesting, but like that relationship to fatness is interesting too, where it's like my past people, I feel like they wanted me to gain weight so that I would be like more secure of an option or like I wouldn't be able to leave or like they could have that kind of control. And then with Gen Z, it's like you should lose weight faster, or like I want you to be thin. So it's kind of weird. It kind of makes sense. So I don't know if they're like as fat phobic, but they are not as fat acceptance in Gen Z. Does that make
Do you know
sense?
what that red? Have you heard of that red pill stuff?
Yeah,
Like they're more like that red. It sounds like red pill.
somewhat.
Like they.
Yeah, I would say so, which is weird because you'd think like gay men would be like, I'm against this or whatever, but they're
No,
not.
no, no, not at all.
You're like, they're with it completely.
No, for sure, absolutely. And it's funny because I don't know. Like a lot of people think that a lot of gay men are like super liberal too, and I'm just like, oh, you don't really know, like gay men if you really think that gay men are liberal because they're not that
That's
liberal.
so
You
funny.
know, um, I think that we lean liberal when it comes to certain things.
Sure.
We might be center left on certain issues,
Right.
but we're definitely more center than anything. I would say.
I
Um,
think so too. When I think too, like even the guy, like my ex was like very left. Okay. But he was like one of those where it's like I'm super lefty, but like I'm also completely in charge. But then, like, because I'm a lefty, I have to pretend that you're in charge because you're the more feminine one. Like, it was just so many games. But it's like, I agree. Like, as somebody, I'm more feminine. Like, pretty much almost every single guy I've talked to, they've expected pretty much gender role
right,
conformity,
right,
basically, just complete. And what I do appreciate about Gen Z is that they're like more honest about it or like less conflicted. So it's a little easier. But
right.
it's like, I'm still not going to just go along with anything you
See,
do.
so
You
it's
know what I
more like
mean?
so it's the millennials are the lost generation because Gen X is very like into gender roles too. We're just like,
I
okay,
believe it.
the more feminine is the girl, and the more masculine one is the man. So like it's very simple. Like,
Yeah, I would say I would say millennials are very tortured. And I think it goes across both, like even with hetero too. There's just so much confusion in
Yeah.
relationships. And I think a lot of millennials just cannot make a relationship work to save their life. And I say that as somebody who is a millennial who has struggled. I'm not saying that from a place of judgment, but it's just a reality. And I
So you guys are
agree,
the ones
like,
who get all offended by that stuff. Like when they say like, "Who's the man and who's the woman of the relationship?" and we're just like, "He is, or
right.
no, I am." You know,
Yeah, I
we
would
don't
say
care. Like, but
millennials are the ones that get
yeah,
weird about it. And then some of Gen Z who's like active on social media, who
yeah,
is probably pandering to millennials, they act like they care, but they don't. And
right,
so that's that'd be like more like an elder Gen Z. But I feel like if you ask like a 20-year-old gay guy, he probably wouldn't give a shit at all. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
right,
totally different. But yeah, I think that those kind of things are easier. But again, like the relationship to fatness within the gender role thing is so weird. And like I said, in the millennial gay world, it's like inverted and like flipped in on itself like 5 times. So I don't really know. Like most of the time, it was just like, you're fat, I'm not interested. And
right,
that's like an easier thing than like, you're fat, I'm interested because you're fat. But then I also am, it's like, I'm okay with you being fat, but then also I'm not okay with it because then my friends don't like that you're fat or something. It's like weird. It's like there's all these weird layers. So I definitely think it made it worse. Like I'm not going to ever be like, being fat totally helped me in the dating world. Like definitely not. But I think
yeah.
it's like
And
I said,
I've never had
mhm,
anybody attracted to me because I was fat. Like, I've had friends that had people that were attracted to them because they were
mhm.
morbidly obese. And I think the reason why I didn't is because I always thought it was weird. And to me, it's a mental issue. And I always felt
Okay.
that person had something wrong with them mentally. And there was always something off about them, like, and I don't know, I could always smell, uh, someone who
Yeah.
has something off with them. And it's almost like they're using them as, as a fetish. And I don't ever want to be used
Mhm.
as a fetish, and their relationships never worked out. And you could just see it from
Mhm.
the beginning. But
Yeah. I think, like I said, I have actually had some experience with that, which is really weird. And it is weird because I think
mhm,
it ends up just because for me, like, I'm not super judgmental about like kinks and whatever. I think a lot of people would think I was, but I'm actually not. I mean, with certain things, I am. Obviously, I have my limits. I think we all do. But for me, it's like in general, I don't really care that much. So, like, if somebody was into me being fat, it was just like, okay, whatever. Right. But then it would turn into like really, really weird stuff sometimes, or like I said, if I'd want to lose weight or whatever, because I always did, then it was like a problem, you know? And it's like to have a relationship be conditional upon being fat is so
yeah,
toxic.
yeah, it's a
So,
mental issue. It's something wrong. Like
yeah,
you don't want me. You want something
right,
else. It's one thing to be obsessed because you have like a nice ass, and they're like, oh, they want to touch your ass all the time. Like
right.
that's one thing. Like that's different. But to be obsessed with your fatness is like, that's something wrong.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, and then sometimes guys would not start out that way and then become that way. And I was like, so then it would be like, eh. Um, and then I don't even really know. All I can say is I'm pretty sure that my weight loss did contribute to my breakup, which is kind of insane to even have to say that. I don't know if it was because of that whole thing. I think to me it was like a kind of like a control thing, or like I'm, getting out of this type of thing, and I also was getting healthier mentally and all these things, and I was just starting to see how things were. And so I think that led to the end, but it's like I don't know. I can't help but like, there was a moment where I had to ask him, "Do you have an issue with me losing weight?" And to me, it's weird that I had to ask. Isn't that weird? Like, that
Yeah,
should be
it is weird.
I'm like, that should
But
never have even crossed my mind. So the fact that it did, I had to have been picking up on something. And again, like, I started losing weight in 2023. It was really starting to come off and it was staying off and it was over. So I'm like, I don't know if that was a huge contributor to what happened.
I
But
think that
yeah.
I had to ask it too. Like when, like we've been together for a long time, but I think that when you lose, you know, almost 200 pounds, like, I looked physically different. I don't even look the same, and
Mhm.
I think that there was a fear that, he doesn't look the same. He's gonna go out and find somebody different, like because he doesn't look the
Mhm.
same. And I think that, you know, they're because they have that fear, they start treating you different, and
Okay.
taking that fear out on you in certain ways, and questioning you when you go out and do things. And it's like, why can't I grocery store? Like, why are you texting me and asking me where I'm at? Like, I go to the grocery store every
Right.
Sunday. Like, like that kind of shit. And I think that um there is it comes to a point where you just have to kind of like check someone and be like, that if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen no matter what, and there's nothing
Mm.
you can do about it.
Mhm.
And it, there is like a power shift almost when
Okay.
you are losing weight. And I think that it's it puts a lot of fear in someone. And I think that
Mhm.
my husband's thin, and he was
Mhm.
always thin his whole life. And to have the relationship go from like where he's the thin one to have it almost like a competition kind of a thing where
Mm.
like it wasn't a competition. Like I never thought of it as a competition, but I think when other people are constantly like when you go out, they're like talking about you all the time. And like, oh, look at you, you look so good, blah 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 blah. Like and it's very annoying. It's annoying. It was annoying for me,
Mhm.
and I can imagine what it felt like for him that
Mhm.
people were kind of like talking about me all the time, and
Mhm.
so I think that kind of could annoy somebody over a long period of time
Mhm. I
because the
think
weight loss
so.
process takes a long time, and
True.
and it also takes a long time to get through the process of seeing people that you haven't seen for a long period of
Mhm.
time. Like I could go out probably next weekend and see someone that I haven't seen in a couple of years, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, look at you! I haven't seen you in 6 years," and blah blah blah. You look
Mhm.
so different, and that is annoying, for him. I could imagine, but
Mhm.
I think that that whole um dynamic shift was a strain on our relationship for a little bit, but it's not anymore. Like that was only the first
Mhm.
like, couple of years, but it's fine now.
I know. I think it's interesting too because I feel like I also like when you go into that mid-fat range, I in my opinion, that's your least attractive
Hmm.
size because
Yes.
when you're really, really big, then you're like a spectacle
Yes.
and you can, I was ugly really big. Like in 2021, I looked like I was dying. So I was treated badly. But then in 2022, I had like a glow up because I got healthier and I was really big and there was like a spotlight. And I think it's
Yeah.
maybe because subconsciously people feel like it takes a lot to sustain that size. Like they can see the effort that goes into it because there is a lot. Like if you think about it, it's a lot of eating, it's a lot of food, right? It's a lot of work to just do anything at that size. And so I feel like there is that admiration kind of at that size a little bit. And then when I became mid fat, it's like I just became invisible.
Yeah.
And it's like I would think, oh, it's just my ex, but it was like everybody on the apps too. And then it was like even just people in public. And then it was people I wasn't even in like dating or whatever. It was just like random people in public. Like I was a ghost walking through the grocery store. Like, and it got really, really jarring. And I think in the past weight loss attempts, because I still had the ED and I was very, very hypo and I had all these issues, I would perceive that lack of status or that lack of visibility on a subconscious level, and I would end up eating again because it
Mhm.
was so disturbing. But this time I had gotten rid of the ED, I had done the hormonal work, and it would have been really difficult to gain, basically, because I'm not going to just binge when I feel like I'm going to puke. Like, that's just gross to me now. And then
Right.
it's like the mental aspect is just not there. So it was like, it's just not going to happen. So I just had to deal with it. And then when I got lower, I think for me, it was the peak of it was probably like 315. Call that like the eye of the duff. Basically, it's like the worst time of my journey. And then now I'm like 280. So it's like I've come down from that
Mhm.
invisible point, and now it's like I'm slightly approaching more visibility. But it's like, it is weird because I do think um what I think it probably was, if I think about my breakup really objectively, I think what it was is I brought up an issue, and because I was less attractive, because I was mid-fat, he just dumped me. And if I would have been bigger, he probably would have worked it through because he was more attracted to me when I was that size. So it was really weird. So it was like a huge status shift. So I think that's why a lot of like people who have lost weight,
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of them, they talk a lot about status. And I
Yeah.
think it's because of that zone in the middle, because it's kind of traumatic, honestly, like to
Mhm.
completely become invisible. And like, it's just really bizarre because I don't think there's that many changes that can occur in a human person like that,
Right.
because even like, yeah.
And not in the middle phase, but once you get lower, I'm telling you, like once you get like you're only 50 pounds more than me right now. Like I'm 230. So, but I would say
Okay.
once you get below 250, I think you're going to see another change
I think
again.
so too. I could see that.
I think that's the point where I woke up and I went to go brush my teeth and I looked in the mirror and I touched my face and I'm like, holy fuck, I'm not even the same person anymore. It was like
Mhm.
I got to below that 250 mark and my face looked different, like everything was different at that point. And then I
Mhm.
was obsessed. Then that's when the whole like body dysmorphia started to happen.
Oh God.
And I wanted to like starve myself to be like as thin as possible. But
Oh my gosh.
oh yeah.
Whoa.
But I only got down like the lowest I could ever get was like 214 was like the lowest I could get. But
Okay.
then I stabilized and gained a little bit and 230 is like where I like to be. So
Okay. Yeah, I know for me, at my height, which our heights are really similar, I don't even think I would be fat at 230. I'd be maybe like mid-size at best, but not even. But like
yeah.
260, like my friend Eric, he always tells me, I think when you get around 260, he's like, I think that'll be really different. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that kind of makes sense, but certainly
Yeah.
under 250, which I don't know if I'm going to get under 250 by the end of the year because it's kind of tough now to lose.
Yeah.
So it's kind of slowed down a bit, but it's still happening. Like I've still lost 30 pounds this year,
Yeah.
but it's still like kind of slower. But I think certainly next year it'll be in that zone. And so I
Right.
think I'll definitely have to talk more about it then. And I am coming out of the invisibility stage. Like I don't feel invisible now, but if anything, I think I'm starting to look better. So I'm kind of having like a mini small fat glow up era now
Yeah.
where I think I'm starting to look better and healthier. Like I'm having more health benefit because I'm getting better, basically. And then mentally and everything. So I wouldn't be that shocked. Like I'm not really, like I said, from my personal channel, I'm not looking for a boyfriend right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if I got one this
Right.
year. I wouldn't be shocked. But it's like it's just a trip to like have gone through that because I think a lot of people, they don't understand like what that is like to be like totally invisible. And especially when I was even overexposed and I was bigger. So it was the opposite. And then it just like went away. It was so
Mhm.
weird. But yeah, I think, what do you think is, I guess, like the worst? What would you say is the worst part about being fat in the gay world, so to speak, in your opinion?
Oh, um, I would say probably like you said, being like the I'm gonna take this off. This is like annoying. Oh, I can't take that.
You lasted a while.
Yeah, it's like too much in my mouth. But I would say the like you said, the duffing, the whole
Mhm.
like I remember going on this one guy asked me out, and it was like all like a ploy to get closer to one of my friends, kind of a thing. And
Scarring. That's
yeah,
horrifying.
like that kind of shit, I think was probably the worst part of it. And then I remember I dated another person for a little bit. And remember, I dated a ton.
Mhm.
Like I said, it was like a freaking whirlwind because I wasn't playing around. And
Right.
I dated another person for a little bit, and it was like when we went out with a group of friends, a group of my friends, and well, they weren't really good friends, but they were just like people that I knew from like the bar, kind of friends. And we all went out, and I forgot where I went. I might have went to the bar to get drinks or something. And when I came back, well, I didn't realize this at the time, and this was like maybe a couple months later. I found out that he was like making out with all my friends when I was gone,
Oh.
like that kind of shit. I found out like after the fact, and just shit that was like talked about me, like
Oh.
to them and to other people, and it's that same typical shit, like
Mhm.
oh, he has a good looking face, but he's too fat, kind of stuff.
Mhm.
You know, that kind of stuff was like probably the most hurtful stuff. Um, but what can you do now? But
Right. Right. I think my opinion is just that I think gay dating, especially today, but I think just in general, honestly, I don't think it was like super great to be gay in the past or anything at any stretch. But I think in general, it's like I always say it's like when you're dating as a gay person, there's just always big issues usually throughout it. And to me, it's like you're always gonna have a problem when you're gay and dating, but to add being fat to it, it's like a very big problem to
mhm.
add to a situation where you're probably already gonna have a problem. Because even like, my friend Eric, I will just say it, he's just a huge whore, basically. And so he's been on like 500 billion thousand dates with like 500 billion thousand men, basically. And even, like, when he's thin, because 'cause he's been thin and in shape, like, the whole time I've known him, and I've known him for almost 10 years. And so it's like, I've seen a lot of what he's went through being thin, and it's not that different. It's like all it is just there's just more traffic. So I think
Mhm.
all that it really does is it just makes more guys interested in you, but it's like the same bullshit, basically, or, like, just same bullshit more often, basically, because
Yeah.
he's dealt with a lot of that, you
and that and
know?
that's why and that's why I never I know a lot of people throw this mental health around, you know, they throw that term around like for everything nowadays.
Mhm,
And that's why I never use that as like, oh, and it was never scarring mentally. It never caused me mental distress. So I was like, I always figured that it was just a part of dating. Like I'd never
mhm.
took it that seriously. It never made me distraught or destroyed, and I was kind of like, fuck them. Like, I'd rather know sooner than later. I wasn't in a relationship with them. We didn't share bank
Mhm.
accounts. We didn't have a house together. Like, it's fine. Like that's how I felt about
That's
things.
a good mindset.
That's how I feel about
Mhm.
things now. Like, I really do not care. If I was to be single right now, actually, if I was to be single right now, I'd remain single for the rest of my life. Like, that's just how I feel about,
Yeah, I've considered
you
it.
know.
I'm not
Um,
gonna lie.
yeah, I mean, I don't care about that kind of stuff, to be honest. Um, but I mean, I just need my dog. That's
Right.
all I need. Um, but it's I just think it just comes with the territory, and I just don't. People just need to, I don't know, like. strengthen up a little bit and just kind of understand that it comes with the territory and people are assholes no matter what.
Mhm.
And
Basically, yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do. And I do get a little bit of a thrill knowing that these people have shitty lives now. You know, I do get a
Ooh,
thrill
I love that.
of that. And and I do get a thrill looking at their partner's photos compared to mine. So I can just be like, you know, so
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
so like
Well,
I was
yeah,
fat then now, but okay.
that's so funny. I do wanna I think you said before we started that you have questions for me. Did you have any or was that a lie? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I did. Actually, we kind of just answered the one. Well, have standards affected your mental health at all?
Okay, I would say, honestly, I don't think so, because for me, it's like a chicken before the egg. So I already had body standard issues because I had the ED. So it didn't matter what anybody else thought, honestly. It was my own thing. So probably not.
Let's see.
I love this. I love the questions.
Oh.
Ask me more.
Why do you think body image is such a significant issue within the gay community?
I think it's because I think a lot of gay people are misunderstood or they don't feel understood or they feel different, which they are. I mean, I'm not trying to be like, "Oh, you're so different. You're like an alien," but you're not like everyone else either. It's like there is a difference. Um, and so I feel like that difference, it can feel really stark. I think especially like for me, like I'm very gender non-conforming. I don't really talk like that, but there's no other real way to put it. It's kind of cringe. It's kind of a cringe term, but it's very true in my case. And so with that, it's like you feel very misunderstood. So then it's like you care about your image because you want to be seen. And again, it's not like these are only exclusive feelings to gay people. Like obviously so many straight people and especially straight women want to be seen. But it's like it's just so much more. I don't know how to describe it. It's like such a thing in a gay
Yes.
person to want to be
Yes.
seen. So I think image just becomes an avenue of being seen. And if the image is off, then you feel like, well, that's not me, or I'm not being seen kind of thing, or I'm invisible or this or that or whatever. It's like, so I think that would be why. And then that same quality, it can be reflected in dating world. So it's like who I'm dating is also a part of that image. And so it's like not just how my body is matters, but also how your body is matters because it's still a part of my image, which I think is
Mhm.
very unhealthy. And I think every gay person, there's a couple of things I think gay people, especially, I will just say, especially gay men, need to work on is that image is not you, image is image, and build your identity because
Right.
most straight people, they don't suppress parts of themselves. And so they just build an identity naturally, even by the time they're like 24 or something, they pretty
Right.
much know who they are. Gay men, I think, need to pay a special attention in your 20s to actively make an effort to build an identity because you probably didn't. Like when I was 20, I didn't really have that much to work. I didn't have all that much. But now at 30, I spent my 20s really making an effort to build an identity and I really have one. You know what I'm saying? So you can have it, but I think it's just not as natural for gay
Right.
men because they suppress that part a lot of times, not always, but a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be why, and that's also the answer.
Hmm.
So to it, in my opinion.
See, I was kind of thinking like that. I always thought that like body image was so important. I thought it was kind of created because of the AIDS epidemic. I just thought that
Okay,
people were
interesting.
obsessed with kind of shaking that image of being sick and
That
wanted
could
to
be
kind of
true.
like look as healthy and as fit as possible. And I think that it just kind of stuck. And now we're just obsessed with
Mhm.
fitness and health, and it's just like an obsession now. And
That could definitely be where it started. I could totally see that, and I think with millennials, maybe it's more of what I said, and maybe it's different for Gen Z, but I think for me, it's that image as like a function of identity, because there's just such an identity issue, I think, in a lot of millennial gay men, particularly. But I agree, especially on the Gen X side, or kind of that area with the
yeah,
AIDS, because with my generation, the AIDS thing was kind of, it's like not super relevant. You know what I'm saying?
right,
But
exactly.
obviously, it was. So I think that could absolutely be where it started. I could totally see that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Let's see. Yeah, and I know that like the whole having an identity thing, like I always struggled with that too, because I
Mhm.
know you are not a people pleaser, but I always was a people pleaser, and I
Mhm.
still am to a point.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I'm a people. I was always obsessed with making sure I had like really good manners, and I always felt that
Mhm.
it was important because you know if you don't if you don't have like good looks, you have to have good manners at least, like kind of a thing. Like
Okay,
so I
that
was
makes
always
sense.
obsessed with having like really good manners. And I don't know, like so I think I don't know, it was so I tried to I was a people pleaser to a point. Like I was always polite and
Mhm.
kind. But it was almost to to the point where it would like irritate the fuck out of me. Like like
Mm.
like I was like a fake kind of a thing, like I would have to force myself to do it, kind of a
Okay.
situation. Um, and then it took me a long time to kind of get out of it, and I think that once I lost the weight is when I started getting out. And that was another issue with our relationship too, is that once I started getting out of that whole like people pleasing thing and started saying no to shit all the
Oh,
time,
yeah.
it
That's
was
tough.
it was an issue, you know. And so yeah, it was like building that whole identity was different because I think
Mhm.
people had a different impression of what my identity was, and then
Mhm.
my identity started to change a lot. So
Yeah. I think for me, I can relate to it just a little bit because I had a people-pleasing phase. That's what I'll have to call it, because it's not me. But I'd say from, like, 2009-ish to probably, like, 2013, I tried. I tried to be a people pleaser, and it almost killed me. Like, I will just say, and then by the end of it, like by 2014, I was like, fuck everyone. I'm doing whatever the hell I want. And it was like very radical. And I like got canceled. Like people in my life hated me and I became the witch, basically, because it was just like, it was so awful for me to do it, and I only lasted, like, 4 years. I mean, you probably did it, like, most of your life, you know what I mean? For
mhm.
me, it was, like, 4 years, and then it's like I was holding my breath, and then I just, like, unleashed upon the world, and I became the witch during that time. But
it's
I was like, I hated it. I don't know how people do it.
I don't know. It's funny because a friend of we were actually at a barbecue over the weekend, and someone was saying about they were talking about their kids and how they're both so different, and how one kid will like ask for stuff, and you know and the other kid doesn't ask for anything. And I was always a kid that knew from a really young age the value of money, and
Mhm.
my brother didn't. So like my brother would ask for like expensive shoes, and I would just knew like if he would ask for something expensive that I would ask for something cheap,
Mhm.
and just because I knew not to be a burden. So
Mhm.
it's just something ingrained in me from the time I was very young. And my parents didn't ingrain that in me. It was
Right.
just something that it was just part of my personality to
Mhm.
be that people pleaser. And it was fucked up because it was like from the time I was a little kid, I was always like that until
Mhm.
recently when you just start saying like, no, I'm not gonna fucking do that.
Right.
Like I want this for myself and there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with wanting something for myself, and um it's when people hear that from you after not hearing that from you for a long time, they're just kind of like, who the fuck is that?
Right.
But
Right. Well, I
yeah, it's
think for
weird.
me too, it probably overlapped with becoming super morbid obese, so becoming very, very big, because I do feel like, at least at that time, there probably was an expectation, kind of like what you said, even if it was very subconscious or like inferred in others, that like because I was so big, I should try to be more polite, kind of thing. Whereas it wasn't as big of a deal when I was younger. And then,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I said, I couldn't keep it up. I think I dropped
I'm
out.
I'm
I dropped
glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't do it because, like, and I don't know why I thought that because I did think that
Mhm,
because I was fat that I should be polite and just shut up and just
mhm.
take what I got because I'm glad you didn't do that because that's why you don't take shit now. But
Pretty much, yeah. And I
yeah.
didn't do it for very long, so I will never claim the title of people pleaser because, like I said, it was like, I'm trying, but, like, the whole time I'm like this, in that whole 4 years, and then I just snapped at, like, 22, and I was like, "I can't do this anymore." I was like, "Fuck society's expectation. I don't give a shit anymore," and I went from, like, all of it to, like, none of it at the same time, and it was like, "I'm doing whatever the hell I want. I don't care what anyone says about anything ever," and it was, like, really radical. So that was kind of insane, but I just, like I said, the witch was born probably around the time. But, and I was burned too, as one is, and then I had no reputation for years, and I was persona non grata for a long time until I got my reputation back. I'd say last year I got it back. 'Cause I started to find a balance and I was like, "Yeah," it's like, "I don't need to be, like, totally not people pleaser," right? Like, I can just be me, It's like
It's
I don't need
you.
to be, like, reacting or holding back. It's like I can just be what it is. And I'm sure you're not shocked, but I'm probably more popular now than I ever was, just being genuine, just being yourself. It's just so much better. But
Right.
I think it was a struggle for me. I don't know, because like I liked being the evil one too. I got into it. I loved it because it's like I like doing whatever I want, you know? And when you don't care what anyone thinks, then it's like, or like if you don't care about if people like you, then it's like I can do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah.
Whereas like now it's like, ugh, like I could lose people because I have people. It's like back then you don't have anything, so it doesn't matter. So there was a freedom in it, but it was horrible and I was very miserable. So I wouldn't suggest it. I think it's balance.
Yeah. And I
But
think
yeah.
that's like, and that's kind of the reason why I do YouTube, and that's
Mhm.
was the big motivator for me is just to kind of to help me come out of my shell and to
Mhm.
learn to express myself more in a way like you do
Oh,
and not
okay.
in a way like I do. So yeah, that was a big motivator for me. But it definitely takes time. It's
Mhm.
definitely not something that comes naturally for me at all. But which is why I have my questions written down and they're not like
Right.
just off the top of my head
Right.
like you would have them down. But
Uh,
I was at work today and was like, oh my God, I'm going to be with Alex today. I need to write my questions down. So,
yes. What's the next one?
so do you think media represents um, gay men? Or do you think the media representation of gay men do you think it affects body standards at all? Or do you think it's properly represented?
Oh gosh. Um,
Like, I
oof.
personally don't think that the media represents gay men properly. I think that like
No.
when you think gay men in media, I think you just think of like one type of gay man. Like I don't think there's multiple different types of gay men in media.
Right. Well, I think for me, certainly in like 80s, 90s, 2000s, it was always like the most femified, type of gay man on
Yes.
TV, like just ridiculous, almost like a caricature. And then I think nowadays, like from the 2010s and now it's like there's such an overcompensation where now it's like they have to be incredibly masculine. You can't even tell that they're gay basically at all. And I'm
Right.
just like I think it's probably kind of mixed,
Are
like I
there
think
incredibly masculine gay guys on TV? Like I don't
well, at least like I mean most of the time it's like straight guys playing it, you know what I'm saying?
like I don't
But
even know
it's
of any shows that have any
I think
characters
of
that are
like
masculine gay.
I don't know about today. You have to remember, I dropped off of the TV train like around 2017 because I just couldn't anymore because the stuff was just so poorly written and it was just so obvious, and like everything was so predictable.
Pedestrian.
Yes, it was pedestrian for sure. But I don't know. Nowadays, even like I've been watching Apple TV and they always have like a gay person on there no matter what, it seems like. And it's kind of okay, I guess, but I feel like what would be more accurate is like it's like gay men are probably more similar to straight people where it's like you're not 100% masculine or 100% feminine all the time. It's like you're like a blend,
Yes.
it's like I'm totally feminine, like in how I think in the relationship. I always say I'm the bitch in the relationship.
Yes.
I am into Taylor Swift, which is like super girly and gay and just so extra. But I'm not really into makeup at all.
Right.
I don't do drag whatsoever.
Yep.
My interests are more masculine. Like I like video games, like not like super broy games, but like I like Sims and Spore and like kind of like those sandbox type games. And like I have a more scientific mind in that sense. And then I like politics and like discussing things and researching stuff, which is kind of more masculine. Like I would say politics is definitely more of a masculine thing. But it's
Yes.
kind of like my mom is similar where she's very feminine still, but she loves the NFL. It's like her biggest thing. She's obsessed with football. Like she's just absolutely obsessed. And like we have so much football stuff all over the house and stuff because she loves it. So to me, it's like interests and stuff could be different than like what you are. And I feel like in gay media representation, it's like if you're feminine, then you automatically love makeup. And if you're
Yep.
masculine, you could never like makeup. Whereas like the
Right.
guys that I've liked, they've been more on the masculine side and they liked makeup and stuff. And I was the opposite. Like I'm over here like political girly, and like just looking at stuff and talking shit about political commentators and, like drama and tea and stuff. That's what I like is like political tea and stuff. And just like, this person's rhetoric was trash. And, like I like to talk about that with my friends and stuff. So it's like, that's more so like my interests. And it's more masculine. Like I like argumentation, I like debate, I like blood sports, like I like offensive humor, like and all these things, right? These are more kind of bro-y, but I'm not bro. I'm
Right.
definitely cis. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's where that would make more sense. Cause to me,
Yes.
like as a gay person, it's like that's what I see with other gay men is there's always these weird blendings of
Yes.
stuff. And so that's what they should put on TV, but they don't because they're
Exactly.
like,
They've
well,
put
yeah,
everybody in a stereotypical box. Like,
yeah, yeah. Which I mean, of course, like,
yeah. Like I
which,
agree.
yeah,
Like I love cars. I like getting dirty and I like getting my hands dirty,
mhm,
but I also shape my eyebrows and I
right,
get spray tan, then I dye my beard and I whiten my teeth and I
right,
will dance around to Britney Spears songs. But I
right,
also like lifting weights and and
right,
stuff. So I'm like, I don't understand. Like there's
right,
so many different aspects to people's personalities. It's not just
right.
like, okay, but also it's funny because I was raised by a very straight man,
Mhm.
and my dad liked doing that kind of stuff too. Like,
Mhm.
like he didn't get spray tans or dye his beard, but he also liked pop music, and he would,
Mhm.
work on cars and like be
Mhm.
dancing around in the garage and messing around, like, and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And he was very like very like he didn't care about sexuality and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like, it never even he never cared about that kind of shit.
Right.
Like, and I don't know. It's just like I think because I was raised around men, like even my grandparents, like were very open. Like they did not give a shit, like
Mhm.
if we were gay or anything like that. I think that it was just and I don't know why it took me until I was like 24 to come out, but I think it was more just an internalized kind of
Internal.
type of a thing.
It that'll always be there, and I feel like a lot of times, like, the activists, they think they can, like, activist that away, but
Right.
that's not a part of every gay person's experience, but it will be no matter what. Like, it'll always
Yeah.
exist. There will always be that kinda internal issue that
Yeah.
some people will have to work through. Not everybody, but
Yeah.
some do. Yeah.
Exactly. It had nothing to do with my family. I wanted
Mhm.
to be married and have kids and have a normal life.
Mhm.
And I knew from 5 years old that it wasn't going to happen,
Mhm.
and that is what I was pissed off about, and
Right.
um, even no matter what I would try, it wasn't going to change. And
Mhm.
that is that's why I ate. That's why I overate,
Mm.
because I was not happy with that.
Mhm.
That was my internal struggle. It was that I was not happy with that inside of me,
Mhm.
and I was pissed off about that. And I was pissed off that, you know, I always knew that I wasn't like the boys and I wasn't like the girls, and I wasn't accepted by the boys, and I didn't want to be accepted by the girls because I had nothing in
Mhm.
common with them either, so it was like what do you have
Mhm.
if you don't have friends, like you
Right.
have food though, so
Right. I
but
I had an interesting time with that growing up because um, I was very, like, I don't know, I was, like when I was, like, in middle school and, like, elementary and stuff, like, I found, like, kind of a sweet spot where, like, I was kinda in with the girls, and then I was still in with the guys too, and, like, I could totally get intel on the girls and give it to the guys and, like, vice versa. So I was, like, a good, like, in between person because I could go to, like I couldn't go to the girls' sleepovers, but I could go to the guy ones, and then I could be like, "Yeah, and this happened there too." Like, I could talk about it because I was there. So it was kinda weird. I kinda had, like, both experiences, if that makes sense. I think I lost touch with a lot of my guy friends when I gained more weight because
yeah,
they were more athletic, and so I didn't have as much in common because I wasn't, and then I just spent more time with the girls because they would just sit and talk shit about everybody, and that was, like, what I was all about, It's like, "Yeah, let's talk shit about everyone,"
yeah,
because I was a mean girl, basically, and so I loved it. Um, and so for me, it was like that's kind of where I leaned more with the girls when I was like a teenager and stuff, but it caused issues because I kind of like forgot what men are like, I guess. I don't know how to describe it because I didn't
yeah.
have a dad, at home or whatever. So I
Hmm.
forgot. So I had to kind of like relearn that in my 20s. But as of today, it's like, yeah, like I have so many girlfriends, like crazy. I think I was pretty much accepted with the girls, but I was so similar. So it makes sense because it's like I was, I was obsessed with Twilight when I was in high school.
Of
Super
course.
cheesy. And I was ashamed of it too, like, I would hide it, I was, like, at high school and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I don't want anyone to see I'm reading this." Embarrassed. It was really embarrassing. But, it's like, that's more, like, girly, so it's like I could talk about it with all the girls, does that make sense? So it's like I
Hmm.
had those interests, but I still had, like, And then like more in my 20s, I was like more political and like in that realm. So I would talk, more with like guys and stuff about that, or like watch male content creators that were talking politics. So it was interesting to kind of switch between. But yeah, I would say like, I did play with Barbies growing up too. So I was an evil one. And back then, oh my gosh, in the
Yeah.
2000s, if you played with the Barbie, or the 90s or whatever, if you played with the Barbie
It's so
and
funny,
you
like,
were a guy,
somebody
it was
asked me if
like,
I ever played with Barbies, and I'm like, I never liked the dolls, but I was always obsessed with like the Barbie cars and the Barbie
yeah.
house. Like I loved the house, and I mainly liked the things that did stuff. Like if the
Mhm.
stove made the sizzling sound, or if like the
Mhm.
refrigerator lit up, like if anything that actually did stuff, I liked. But
Mhm.
and I loved the camper, like different stuff like that
Mhm.
I liked, but not the dolls themselves. But
I liked these like crazy storylines, I'd be like, they're getting abducted by aliens, like I would kind of like, I was always like, I'd mix it up with the girls, like I would like, I have like really fun memories of playing with one of my cousins with Barbies, and we just do like the weirdest stories. Cause obviously like I had a different perspective, right?
yeah.
But it was like we would play and it was just like that. It was so much fun, but I loved it. But it was like deviant or like evil that I was doing it at the time, which is so dumb. But it's like, obviously I'm interested in it probably because I'm gay. It's not the Barbie
Mhm.
making me gay, it's the other way around. I'm
Exactly.
gay and so I want to play with it.
Exactly.
But it was just funny. But it's funny to look back on that now. But yeah. So anyways,
I
what
used
were
to
you
be
saying?
pissed. I'm like, why can't they make one of these fucking campers in like blue? Like, why does it have to be pink? Like, I would love to have a boy freaking camper. Like,
That's so
I used to
funny.
be so mad about it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So what's your next question?
Uh, let's see what I have here. Okay, so we in the beginning we were gonna talk about it, but I guess about the different body standards within the gay community and how they have evolved over time.
Okay.
Like, so how, like there was the perfect twink, and then there
Okay.
was a bear, and then, like different things like that. Like, how do you think that they have evolved over time, and why do you think they have evolved over time?
I don't know. I don't know that they have evolved all that much. Have they? I don't know. I'm not sure what it used to be.
Well, I don't know. I just remember like when do you remember the show Queer as Folk?
I remember it. I remember talking shit about it.
Okay.
I do remember
Well,
it.
well, back then it was probably like my generation.
Okay.
Um, like twinks were the thing, you know,
Okay.
and I never got it. I never thought they were the thing. It was never my thing. And but I know people were into that, you know,
Mhm.
and now people are more into masculine, I think, is more the thing,
Okay.
you know, like what do you think is driving
Oh.
that change? Like, is there something driving that change, or do you think it's just like,
It could be just like it could be media manipulation. So it could just be like something that's pushed in the media with the trends, because I
red pill
know
shit?
huh?
Red pill shit again?
Maybe. Well, because I think with the whole like masculine being the thing today, it's because it's pushed so much in media that you have to be masculine as a gay man now. Like, and I think it's probably because maybe millennials are taking the reins, and I think a lot of millennial gays in America are like obsessed with it. Like for me, I have always preferred it. Does that make sense? But it makes sense because I'm so femified. It's like I need some kind of balance, right? To myself. But I never have like fetishized masculinity. And except for maybe when I was like a teenager or something, like something really weird, like in high school or something. Like to me, it's a very like teenage mindset to have. But for me, it's like I never like did that. So I didn't care if the guy that was, more masculine than me liked makeup. It didn't bother me. But I think with a lot of millennial gays, they're like, you like makeup? Oh my gosh, you're not masculine. I don't want you anymore. So it's like that kind of thing. So maybe they just like pushed it on TV. And so now that's why. And maybe with the previous generations, it was like forbidden to be feminine. So then they wanted to put it on there. I don't know. That's just my guess.
Yeah.
So that's what I think, maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually, it's, uh, I definitely think like, uh, it's hard to say. Like, trying to make sure I don't have anything mixed in here before I forget.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think that, it, like, I think, oh God, it's hard to say. Um, hmm. It's, well, sometimes I think like that, like masculine is, sometimes I feel that it's worn as drag a lot of times.
Okay.
Like I don't feel that sometimes the masculine that we're getting in the gay community is a truly
I can see that.
masculine. I think it's sometimes it comes off as very fake. Um and I think a lot of times there's a like a the media representation of masculine sometimes is very fake, like of gay masculine. It can come off as very
Hmm.
fake. And I think that when, like, a lot of people, even when it comes to relationships, they like to romanticize relationships. And I think that because what they see on TV and what they see in movies.
Hmm.
And I think that people try to emulate masculinity based on what they see on TV and what they see on in movies. It's not a natural masculinity.
Okay.
And um I think that is becoming popular.
Okay. So
Um
what's an example? Like what's something?
um I think that, ooh, okay, so the the guy from Fresh Fit, like the people who watch that and obsessed with that type
Oh yeah.
masculinity, to me that is a fake masculinity. And I think that type of masculinity is spilling into the gay community. In
Okay.
fact, it's been in the gay community for a while, and I think that um, people who overdo it in to a point where it's like a
Yeah.
toxic masculinity is very, very fake.
Well, I think too, when it becomes kind of performative,
Yes.
it goes, like I said, it becomes fetishy.
Yeah.
It's like you're in a schmorn. Like it's not real.
Yeah. It's more
It's
than
like,
drag. They're wearing it as drag.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's overly performanced. Because for me, like I said, I never really cared about that
Right.
much. Like I said, the kinds of, you know, I've more masculine guys that I've been with. Again, it's not hard to be more masculine than me. It just really isn't. I mean, it's ridiculous to even say, but but they were kind of similar to straight men in the sense of like with the trends. Like I said, it was like the feministy thing was like huge in the early 2010s. And so it was like, I have to be the one that's the like I got to be the career person or something. It was weird. It was like kind of like it was pushed on me, and I felt like I had to do everything because I was kind of like a girl. So I kind of took on those roles. But it was like they still were like emotional. They still were like, you know, I think they struggled with being emotional or struggled with that vulnerability, but that's where I could bring that because I was very
Yeah.
feminine. So it was very easy for me to be that way. And so I could bring that side. And I think that they, um, but this whole idea of like, oh, men are not emotional or whatever, like they say that a lot. It's like, that's not true. It's just expressed
Mhm.
differently. Or it's
Yes.
like, if a more masculine type of person goes through something, they want to deal with it alone rather than tell everybody about it. Whereas like for me, it's like when I got dumped, it's like I had to tell all my friends. I like immediately was like, I have to talk about it constantly. So it's a very feminine way of dealing with it.
Yes.
Whereas the more masculine side, they wouldn't. And
Right.
so I think it's just like you said, I agree that they're the fresh and fit type. It is kind of performative, and it's like they get really into that control aspect, which that's not really what it is
No,
either.
and
Because yeah,
not and I say that because I grew up with masculine men
right.
around me who were, you know, old school masculine men who
Mhm,
my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My
mhm,
grandmother was a stay-at-home mom. They, and as my grandmother, in the beginning they were, and as my grandmother ended up, having a career, a very good career, and that overtook my grandfather as she got older. And then my mom
mhm,
ended up having a career as well. And then it's like my dad and my grandfather were never like offended by that or never were put
mhm.
off by that, and you know, my they never like were like, okay, your mother's coming home late from work, and so we're gonna sit here and on our ass and do nothing until she gets home to make dinner.
Right.
Like, no, you get off your ass and you do it
Yeah.
yourself because it needs to be done. Like, there, to me, that's a man.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
masculine, is taking care of your wife and taking care of your
Mhm.
partner,
I agree with
not
that.
waiting for your woman to do it for you. That's
Mhm,
pussy stuff. Like,
mhm.
that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's like things that I don't know. Like, I
I
think,
feel you. I get what you're saying, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, and I
Mhm,
think the gay community, a lot of these gay men are very performative, and they think that they don't know how to be men. They don't know how to be men. Like, I
mhm,
don't know if it's because they didn't have men growing up. Maybe they were rejected by their parents, by their fathers. I don't know. They didn't have
mhm.
that connection from, with their fathers to have that relationship. But I think a lot of it is so performative and just like very irritating. But
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Because 'Cause I've known too, like, a lot of the guys that are that way, it's worse or it feels weird when I feel like I'm more masculine than a guy. And there's a
right.
lot of times where I feel that way, and, like, those types of guys, they are more bitchified than I ever am.
Yep.
It's, like, crazy. It's, like, they go into, like a lot of times they can go into full-blown Karen mode, and it's, like, ooh, like, if I'm talking to somebody and they're a Karen with me, I will always feel like they're more feminine than me. It's like a very feminine, kind of toxic feminine thing to do, but they'll do that. And then a lot of them are like very hypergamous too, which is kind of more of like a toxic feminine trait. They're very hypergamous and they project it onto women because most women aren't actually. But people say that they are, but most women they care about status in certain ways, like, they care about what their girlfriends think. That's huge. That's, like, everything, and it shouldn't be, and that's my advice to the girls, like, you need to just tell your girlfriend to shut the fuck up sometimes, you know? That could make the world go round.
Hmm.
But in terms of, like, oh, like, I know so many women that have been with a guy that has less money than them. It's like, that's not a thing. But I think with a lot of those like red pill, kind of that cringe, that's like they would, they could never be with a girl that has more money than them or something. And it's like that's kind of that. I don't know. It's just weird. It's kind of a feminine way of looking at things, I guess. So
Yeah.
I agree with you because it's like I feel like the masculine way is to just go or like to just do it or just live it. Whereas like a
Just
feminine thing is like, I'm gonna plan it out and have all these
for me, the
scenarios.
masculine way is you support each other.
Mhm.
Like, you don't have to,
True.
you know, sometimes one person's up and sometimes one person's down. And it just that
Mhm.
is a relationship. Like me and my partner we're pretty much equal right now.
Mhm.
But in the beginning, in the beginning, I was higher and he was lower. And
Mhm.
then a couple years after that, he was higher and I was lower.
Mhm.
And it just kind of went like that,
Mhm.
like the whole way through. And now we're pretty much equal. But I'm in a position now where he's pretty much topped out, where he's a nurse. So he's like topped out where he's at. But I'm not. So I'm going to go up and he's going to pretty much stay topped out where
Mhm.
he's at. And but that doesn't mean that, okay, well, I'm gonna make more than you, so I'm the boss now again. Like
Right?
it was never like,
Yeah.
well, you're the boss, I'm the boss.
Right.
Doesn't
It's
mean
very
any
yeah. That's not even feminine, that's just kinda cringe. That's
It's
like
so
a cringe
stupid.
thing. Yeah. That's interesting, but I agree. I totally agree with you because I see that too. And you're right, I think, I obviously I had gender confusion growing up because I was so incredibly feminine and I was male, and it was like, "Whoa, this is not lining up?" But I just didn't care because I'm not a people pleaser. So I was like, I don't give a fuck. If I'm not supposed to be feminine, I am. So
Right.
fuck you? But basically I just lived that way and people just got used to it. And it was like, in a lot of ways I was one of the girls and then I wasn't, and then in other ways I wasn't one of the girls. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it was just easy. It wasn't like a hard thing, but it's because I don't perform my femininity. It just is. So it just fits like a glove. It's like very
Yeah.
natural. And so, because I have gotten that a lot too, like on YouTube where people be like, oh my gosh, like why do you make your voice sound like that? I don't. I will say, like, I talk like this in my dreams. Like, I talk like this right when I wake up in the morning. It's like, it's not a performance. It's just, it's super, super femified because I have a California
Yeah.
accent, which Cali is kind of gay anyways. Like even straight men in California sound kind of gay because it's kind of a gay accent. So then when you are gay on top of being Californian, it's like mega. And then I'm femme too. So then it's like super. That's why it's like so much. But it's just the accent. That's
It's so
Cali.
funny. Like my niece, when I was first starting my channel, my niece was like, she's like, you need to gay it up a little bit.
Oh my God.
She's like, your channel's gonna be so boring. She's like,
Oh
you need
my
to gay it up. I'm like, dude, should I put on like a boa and just like
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. Oh my God, I love that. Oh my gosh. You could do
like
performative femininity. No, I'm
I'm
just
like
kidding.
totally like gonna copy your whole model and wear witch's hat.
Oh my gosh. What? Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
No, that was all I had. But yeah, that
Okay.
was yeah, it's funny how we were talking about that because at work we were talking about how like women, like male and female bosses are very different.
Mhm.
Um like that the dynamic is very different. And so when like my employees that work for me, like we don't have any drama like on in my team whatsoever. But the ones who work for other people do have drama like amongst their
Interesting.
team. And it's almost kind of like, I think it's, I would say that I father my team and they mother their team. And I think
Okay.
there's a difference. Whereas to me, when they come to me with drama, I stop it. It's over. I don't talk about it. I don't discuss it. I don't care about your
Mhm.
feelings. I don't care about any of it. We're here to work. If
Mhm.
you don't like it, post out, find another job. It's
Mhm.
as simple as that. Like, but I'm also very like understanding when it comes to things. I understand if you get sick, if you have problems with your
Mhm.
kids, if you have things like that, I'm very understanding. But I don't play with that drama stuff. Like don't talk about your coworkers behind their backs. I don't like that kind of drama. Um
No promises. Okay, no, I'm just I
but
was
and I think
whew,
I
yeah.
think that causes such toxicity amongst the
Mhm.
team. It's kind of like, if you can't talk about it amongst each other like adults, then you shouldn't have an adult job. Like you
Mhm.
need to find somewhere else to work because you're not meant to work here. But or come to me. Like
Mhm.
if you want me to if you can't handle talking to somebody, which a lot of younger people can't handle that, conflict, the
Mhm.
face-to-face conflict, which I mean, I have no problem with that. I mean, I'll go to your teammate and tell them that they suck if you want me to, in a nice
Yeah.
way. But I think that,
I'm sure you're not surprised, but I dealt with my own work conflicts.
oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I would. And
Actually,
they'd always be like,
that's your problem too. I might have to put you in a different side of the building,
yeah.
but
Well, I was still like, but I was good though, because I'm introverted. So I can do it covertly and quietly. But like there were times where certain coworkers, sometimes they would try to like, do something. And I would just give it right back to them and be like, because they would just assume like, oh, whatever. He's not gonna like he's gay. He's not gonna say anything or he's not gonna do anything about it. And I would just like, like right back and I'd be like, da, 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 like really quick. I'm sure you're not surprised. But it usually ended pretty fast because people were
and
always like,
actually, it's so funny because they send us all these thinking classes for like managers and stuff, and it's proven that that is the best way to stop conflict at work. It is between from employee to employee. Like
interesting.
from me to the employee, it just kind of keeps the drama going. But
True.
if the employee goes to the other employee and tells them to stop, it usually stops. If not, it's called
Mhm.
like some kind of drama triangle or whatever they call it.
Mhm.
Well, if I'm the third person in the triangle, it just keeps going. But
Right.
if it just if the two people stop the conflict,
Mhm.
then that's how it stops. But you know,
It usually would end fast. Yeah. So with me, it would end pretty
yeah,
quick because it would just be like I hate him. And then I probably would talk shit about him after that. So it's kind of like, but I mean, it was work. I was always good with that, where I think I was raised with like that kind of work ethic of like you leave it at home or like you don't deal with stuff
yes,
at work, that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I always was okay. But I do find like I had an abusive work environment in 2018 and the drama was really high because I think because the leadership was so toxic, people would
hmm
take it out on other employees. Like we would take it out on each other basically. But that happens in that type of situation. It's
yeah.
tough.
I was like that too. I came from from a place where the leadership was like awful, and yeah,
Yeah.
I was literally I've been working at the place at the hospital system that I'm in for it's been like almost going on 17 years. But I've been at the location that I'm at now for 5. But I was literally gonna quit like the whole hospital and just like be gone because I just could not take,
Mhm.
the manager that I had before. And she was just I think she hated me because I was gay. But
Ooh.
she was just toxic and
Yeah.
evil and manipulative, and she was BFFs with like this horrible coworker that I had, and
Ooh.
you know she would do nothing all day long, and then I would have to do all of her work, and it
Oh
would
no.
like kind of a situation where she would be hanging out in my boss's office all day, and then like who else is answering her phones, who else is doing all of her work, and like her doctors are coming
Yeah.
to me to like to do all of her stuff, and yeah, it
That's
was
horrible.
not fun. But you know,
Mm.
got free and now I'm higher than her. So
So that's the lesson, is just
yes,
always outdo everyone and then just be
exactly,
like, I'm better than you in the end. I'm just kidding.
exactly.
Well, I guess before we wrap up, I want to ask you, what is, from you've experienced, drastic weight loss, what would be your words of wisdom for what I have coming? Like when I get towards that 250, what would be your words of wisdom?
Oh man, um, I would say to uh, I'm not gonna say anything like profound, like enjoy the process and just blah, blah, blah. No, I'm
It's
gonna say
okay. I can do all that. I
no.
got that femified part. Just give me the
I'm gonna
straight
say
back.
when I want you to fuck them up. All right, that's what I want you to do. I want you to, when you get to your weight, I want you to go out. I want you to freaking look your best. I want you to take some awesome pictures. I want you to just fuck everybody up. That's what I want you to do.
So you just want like revenge era.
Revenge fucking body era. Absolutely. Fuck them all up. That's what I say.
I'll be wearing the witch hat in spirit, basically.
Yeah, in spirit though. That's what I say.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I think you don't know what I will do with that. Like when I hear that, I go to crazy places. So, but it
That's
should
what I
be
want.
entertaining. I
That's
plan
what I
on
want to
staying
do.
on YouTube forever. So, or for a long time anyway. So I can definitely broadcast it to a certain extent. But yeah, I think it would be fun to do because I don't know, like even now, like when I go to Cali in August, maybe I'll go to like a gay bar and just see, because I haven't been in like forever. And I'll just go to like hate everyone. I'm just kidding. No, I'll just go just to see what happens.
And
But I know Eric will be down,
it's
but
just it's just great. It's just I don't know. It's just there's just a feeling, and it's just a good feeling to. And, and I hate this part of me that likes this, but I have to say it. I have to say it. But I just like knowing that the the person that they made fun of behind well, yeah, I was gonna say behind their back, but it's behind my back. Um, now looks fucking better than them. So
Mhm.
fuck them up. That's what I say. So
Okay.
yeah,
Revenge tour.
yes,
I think, yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I have like a weird trait sometimes where it's like I'm very introverted, but I also like I do like showing off, if that makes any sense. Like I'm not
yes,
like a non-egoic type of person. Like I do have an ego, but it's just introvert ego, so it's different. But I would like to do that. I think it would be funny because I even said like when I lost my 100 pounds, I was like, I'm not going to be gracious about it.
no,
I'm not
no,
going to be like, oh gosh, I just don't even know
mm-mm,
how I did it. Oh my gosh.
no,
No, it's like, no, I'm happy. I'm happy it's gone. Like, I don't pretend that I'm not, So it's like
no,
I talk a lot about like the negatives and stuff. That's just kind of how this channel is, but no, it was definitely worth it to have gotten this far. So I'm going to keep going obviously,
it's
but
it's
okay.
funny. I try not to get too much into like the whole like fucking everybody up kind of thing because I don't want to be that person. But like I don't know, like I and I think it's because I like I said, it was 38 years of my life that I was
Right.
38 fucking years. And I do not leave my house. I do not go to the grocery store without looking good. I do not leave my
Mhm.
house because it's kind of like I did for 38 years. I left my
Mhm.
house looking like shit every day. So why am I going to do
Right.
it now?
Okay.
So to me, it's like I don't want to run into anybody at the grocery store, looking like shit. Like if I do run into somebody, I want to fuck them up. Like, no, I don't think so.
Love it.
Even if I'm just getting gas, I don't care. Like that's how I feel now. And like, I don't know. It's just it's a weird feeling, but I feel like I have to do it. Like, for all the other fat people out there, for anybody who was ever made fun of, like I feel like I'm like doing it for my old fat self. Like I have to do it. But
Interesting. I
yeah,
could see that. There might be a branding opportunity for me in the future.
yeah.
The revenge campaign. um, oh my gosh. So it would be so funny. I have to at least like I'll have to definitely go to LA because those people there are so awful. And I would just love to like really give them hell, you know. That would be really fun and satisfying. But I think in general, I do kind of feel that way a little bit with the fat acceptance people too, because I know it hurts them
Yeah.
that I lose. And to me, it's like, I hope it hurts. Like, I'm not one of those people where I'm like, you know, it's like, no, like, I hope it makes you salty. Like, I hope you're better about it because,
That's my people pleasing mentality is
yeah.
I don't want to like hurt anybody. And you know, it's so funny. Like I used to I had some like I even like took pictures down that I had on like Instagram and stuff just because I'm like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings
No,
because I had like, you know,
that's
plastic surgery and
pedestrian.
stuff. And I wanted people to think like I'm like showing off and
You're
because
being pedestrian. No,
like
no.
yeah, but then they're gonna be like, well, the only reason why you have that body is because you paid for it. You
Oh
know,
my
they're like kind of a
gosh.
thing. I'm like, whatever, but I had a flat butt. I had to buy one. I'm sorry.
I just think I don't know. I don't know. I'm so against that. I'm just like, show the pictures, do it. Like whatever, who cares? Like I know I will. Like, you know, I'm not like a super can't see myself ever being like super sexualized or whatever. Like that's just not me because again, that's kind of like for me I'm too introverted for that, but I will definitely show that I've lost weight and stuff. It's like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I lost
I'm not
weight.
gonna show my junk on
Well,
OnlyFans or
yeah.
but I'm but I mean, I don't have any problem showing like a tasteful covered up nude, like partially
Ooh.
covered, you know?
No, but yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, I just am like, I am not going to hide the fact that I lost weight. And I don't think anyone else should either. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's great. I mean, I know that I'm so like, the fat acceptance people would hate me so much if they heard me say this, but it's like, I think you should feel happy about it or proud about it. Like, I think it's a lot of effort and time and stuff. And, you know, I don't know.
I had it on Instagram for like literally I think 5 minutes and I took it down because there was like literally one comment and they were like I forgot what it said. So someone was like they said something like, "Oh, don't you think you're special?" or something like that, and I
Oh
was
my
like, "Oh,
gosh.
I should take it down. It's probably is kind of like mean, isn't it?" or something. So I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna take it down." But it really was. It was just like I thought it was a tasteful nude, but it
Oh my
wasn't showing
gosh.
anything. But it was like, yeah, I was naked
I
but
said
covered
just
up.
post it, like, fuck those Karens. That's like a Karen attitude. That's like, "Mm, you think you're so special." It's like, you think I give a shit about what you write. It's like, fuck
Yeah,
you. I hope you're salty. Like I said, that would probably be my response. I'd be like, I hope this hurts. I
yeah.
hope it hurts you. Like, I hope when you see it, it's just something that just horrifies you every second. And that's how I am. Like, again, I mean, I'm not always like that, like, I know it can be shocking, but I can be forgiving too, but, you know, I was talking to my Christian grandmother today, and I told her that, you know, I was like, "I listen to the Bible, and the Bible says that in order to really hurt somebody, you have to treat them nicely and forgive them." So I forgive to make sure that that person's hurt even worse, because the Bible says, like, it feels like a hot coal on their head. And so I was like, I acted very gracefully and sweet and wonderful with this person that burned me because I wanted to hurt them. And that was the best way. And my
Okay,
grandma was like, she's like, that's not what you're supposed to do it for. And I was like, I don't care. I still listened and I know it still worked and I know it stung because when a lot of times when you like fight with somebody, they don't feel as bad. But if you're like, okay, that's fine. Like, I forgive you and I hope the best for you and whatever. It's not necessarily that it was fake because it can't be fake. Right. But it's like beneath it, it was like, I'm going to tell you this because I know it will hurt you even worse.
Yeah.
So that's what I do
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's like
So
turning the other cheek, kind of a thing. Yeah.
I will do it specifically so that it's more painful.
So literally, I'm going to turn the other side and show you the other butt cheek. No.
Yes. No, but I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know. I'm not going to act like I don't want people who have hurt me to not hurt. Like, I'm not going to act like that, you know? And to me, it's like, I do think that fat activists, they're hurtful.
Yeah.
Their rhetoric is painful. Like, I've had to hear it throughout the whole time I've been losing weight because I did the channel and stuff. And it's awful. It's
Yeah.
very hurtful. It's horrible. So to me, it's like, I hope it hurts. Like I said, like, I think I have kind of that a little bit of a vengeful spirit with FA because I've been listening to them as I
They're
lose.
more assholes to you than they have been to me. And I don't know why, but I think it's probably because the feminine energy, probably. They're probably,
Maybe.
it might be.
I think too, they think, okay, like this one time, we're getting into a little bit of tea. So do you know Fat Sophic Bro? Have
Oh,
you heard
God.
of that person? Okay.
Unfortunately, yes.
Fat Sophic Bro, there was like a little bit of tea where they tried to come after me because I supported another content creator, which the Hidden Channel. And so I supported the Hidden Channel. I supported her, and Fat Sophic Bro like attacked me or whatever. And the thing is they think because I'm gay and femme and whatever, they think I'm like them. And it's like, honey, I may be like squishy, femme, whatever, and I'm emotional and whatever. But deep inside, there's like a hardcore of like bitchified. And it's like, so they tried to call me out. I used it. I was like, clipped, made a video, period. Like I did it immediately. It was like, and they never messed with me again because they didn't hurt me. It's like, you're not going to hurt me. And that's what I think a lot of these people don't get is it's like, I'm not, like, I'm sensitive, but I have to like actually care about you to be sensitive. Does that make sense? Like I'm sensitive. Like I would care if a guy I liked didn't like me, or I would care about like if my best friend was mad or like something like that. But it's like some pedestrian FA, like I don't give a fuck. It's like, I do not care. Yeah, when I like to argue. So it's like, if you want to argue, you will have one because it's like, no. But yeah, for me, I think I guess we can end it on this part. But what I will say is don't ever feel guilty for having lost weight. I think sometimes for me, I struggle with like a survivor's guilt because I feel weird that I got out of super morbid obesity. And I feel like most people don't. When they get into that category, they never get out. So I had a little bit of that because I feel for the person that really struggles. But as far as like an FA, it's like, oh, hun, I hope it hurts. I hope it stings.
It's not really necessarily the weight loss I have survivor's guilt over. It's more the plastic surgery that I do. And so that's why I don't want to like, I don't like rubbing that in because I think that it's a kind of like, it is like a privilege thing to be able to do.
Well,
and I don't want
but let me just ask flat out, did you pay for it with your own money?
Of course. Yeah.
Well, you earned it. I mean, as long as you're honest about it, then I don't see what the issue is at all. Like, I don't think you should feel guilty about it because you paid for it yourself. I mean, it's not like you stole it or something. Or you like extorted someone into giving you it for free or something.
I wish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should feel bad. I don't know what I will do, if anything. I have no clue. Like, I don't make any promises. Like, I've never said, like, I will never get anything. I don't know if that's true. I think it just depends on at the time, but I'm not going to feel ashamed if I do it. I don't think you should either.
Yeah.
Because I think people are just so extra. And it's like, I don't know. It's weird. People are weird, but I don't like that kind of, you think you're so special. Because to me, I just rebel and I'm like, yes, I do. And I am. So.
Well, maybe I'm going to try that next time.
So I'll be like, I guess you better F off then. Because I certainly have. I'm just kidding. But for me,
I'll post like 3 more just to be like an
yeah. I like to rebel against those kind of people, which I have to like like I said, I need to I have to find balance, like I said, but that was my thing of like, you say I can't, then I'm going to do it 500 times worse, but it's like, you have to be a little careful. Like I said, now I'm like, I'll only do it once, right? Like I won't do it because I used to do overkill with things, but
Hey, the
yeah,
Kardashians made a complete brand off of doing that shit. So,
who did?
the Kardashians.
Oh,
So,
that's true. But yeah, thank you so much for being here, Greg. We'll
of
definitely have
course.
to do a collab again. But I appreciate it, and I appreciate your thoughts, and I appreciate this somewhat becoming a therapy session for me, like towards the beginning.
Right?
But I
I knew
appreciate
we
it
would
so
have a
much.
good time. Like it's just
Yes.
chatting back and forth is not the same, but this is cool.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And you have to come back at some point, but I appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
yeah. And also, you guys make sure that you subscribe to Life After Losing on YouTube. And he needs to do more crying videos. I need crying videos, apologies, tea, drama.
Yeah.
Like your niece said, gay it up a little, No,
Okay. I'll bring out boas and
get
boas and
the
tears.
get the waterworks, get the apology going. I'm just kidding.
And I'll post the tasteful nudes.
Yeah. You should. I think you should, at least on Instagram. And you know what? They can just suck it. They can just be bitter about it. That's how I feel.
Oh
So,
god.
anyways, you guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Have a good one.
Bye.
It always takes a while.